I thought I had it working, then it wasn't working, then I had to start it again, part of my life. Okay, so I was going to go work out, and then I was like, I read this article, if you will, from an attorney, and a friend of mine had sent it to me, and it was an interesting read, but I want to tell you where she screwed up, okay? Because I talk about this all the time, and it just bugs me. And then I'm going to talk about compensatory services because a lot of people have asked about that. So excuse my attire, okay? I'm going to work out after this. And I didn't have an IEP meeting today. So that was a good thing. So, I only dress up during IEP meetings. I'm like totally your chill girl, okay? I wear my workout pants and my tank tops or t-shirts or jeans or whatever. But I only dress up for IEP. Just kidding. Okay. All right. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Raven Woods. I'm the CEO and founder of Autism Mama Rocks IEP. I help parents like you gain the knowledge, hopefully, and the confidence, can you tell, to become CEOs of your IEP meeting. I'm joking around, but I really actually do that, and I do it well. All right? So stick around. Share this. Your name will go in the hat at the end of the month. You will win things like Amazon gift cards and other things that I will be putting into play. So before I work out, I was like, oh, I'll go live later. And then I know me, especially when I don't have an IEP. So I was like, oh, I'll go live later. I'll go work out first. I just got that Peloton tread. Oh, I'm in love. I don't know anybody else if you have it, but that thing is rocking. Okay. I mean, it motivates you. They yell at you and they say do this and do that. And you're like trying to keep up. And yeah, that thing's awesome. All right. So I want to tell you where this parent screwed the hell up. All right. So there's a case in California, and it could be a case anywhere, but there is a for real case in California. Okay. And oh, wait, hold on 1 second. So for those of you who are joining me, post a 1 below if it's your first through third time catching me live. Post a 2 below if you're an oldie but goodie. Okay, if you're catching the replay, hey, what's up? I am Raven Woods, and I'm the CEO and founder of Autism Mama Rocks IEP, and I help parents like you join and become amazing CEOs of their IEP meeting. Okay, I'm like stoked right now because I'm like, okay, like I was going through that. You know how you talk to yourself? I'm like, should I go work out? Should I go live? Should I work out? Should I like put makeup on if I go live because people are going to judge me if I don't have makeup on and I don't look like a professional advocate? And I was like, no, screw that. I'm getting ready to work out, people. And I have really good information for you. Okay. So that's all that matters. It is what it is about. Okay. So there's a California case, guys. All right. Make sure you post 1 below if it's your first or third time catching me live. Tell me where you're from. 2 below if you're an oldie but goodie. You guys know what to do. All right. So California case. Friend of mine sent this to me. She messaged me, which I had actually said to her, you know the answer to this. You know this, but she was like just trying to get my input. So anyway, it's a California case. All right. The parent screwed up. I mean, she should have never, gone through a administrative hearing over this type of bullshit. Okay. I mean, I want to reach out to this parent. I mean, it's like, what's it called? Like scratched out. But damn, do I wish I could reach out to this parent. All right. Because what doesn't make sense to me. All right. And the parents went pro se. So they represented themselves. All right. And I could have told them they were going to lose. I don't know why, if they had talked to anybody, that nobody told them that they were going to lose. It was just a bad move on their part. So, and I tell you guys this, so I want to clarify so that there's no hiccup, because you know how people are. Oh, Raven says that, and she said this, and then there's this case, and they lost, and da-da-da-da-da. Let me tell you where she screwed up. All right. So she took the school district, all right, to due process over her request, which I always say to request a BCBA when a school district is asking for, or when the parent is asking for an FBA. All right. So let me like break down those terms for those of you who are like, what did that mean? What is a FBA? What is a BCBA? Because I didn't know any of those words either. Like I had to there should be like a special education. You know what? I'm gonna make one. That is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make a special education vocabulary book. No, I actually already have one, guys. Go get it in the products. So she screwed up. All right. And I feel bad for her. And now she kind of like screwed herself, if you will, in moving further with it. All right. So like I always say, ask for a BCBA when you're requesting an FBA, when you're asking for evaluations, or if you're just asking for an FBA singly. The only place and state that you don't have to ask for, that you cannot ask for an FBA singly is New York, because they're jacked the hell up. And, they only allow you to ask for an FBA when you've asked for a whole evaluation. Okay. So, I see people joining. Yeah, I'm getting ready to work out. So I got my workout gear on. So, I'm all kind of professionalized for y'all. But I had to give you guys this information, or I would have like come back on all sweaty and then I would have been mad at myself. Look at me talking to myself. Then I would have been mad at myself because I didn't go live and tell you. And then I would have been sweaty because I was working out. And so I like fought with myself in my head. Do I just go live in my workout clothes before I go work out so that I'm not sweaty when I talk to them? Yeah, these are the fights I have in my freaking head. All right. So here's the deal. Case update. She lost. Of course she lost. She asked for an FBA. Amazing. Good for her. She asked for a BCBA to do the FBA. Good for her. I say that to everybody. Absolutely. They're the only ones who are the most highly qualified to request. And I know there's people that argue with me, but you know what? You're wrong. You are wrong. All right. Because you can be a psychologist. You can be whatever. I respect you. I respect your career. I respect everything that you do. However, well, as long as it's a good thing, but BCBAs, that is what they go to school for. Behavior. All right. And if I'm asking for an FBA, I ain't asking for a psychologist. I call a counselor. My best friend's a social worker. I do all that kind of stuff. Okay. But I did it. What I'm requesting is an FBA, which is why is my child doing these behaviors? Why are these behaviors happening? Okay. And so the first person I would ask to do that is a BCBA. Now, a lot of schools have BCBAs on staff, which I love that about schools. Some schools have that. But we'll get into, how those are done later. I will do another live if you want. I'll do it tomorrow because that's very important in going into this year. All right. My background is in teaching, but is behavior and reading. I did not finish my BCBA. I'm 3 months shy of it. Do I plan on going back? Nope. But I've done multiple FBAs and work with parents all the time on behavior and getting that together because I love the puzzle aspect of it. And I work with a lot of BCBAs all the time. I love it. So anyway, she did the right thing. She asked for a BCBA to do the evaluation. The school district denied it. And my assumption, it doesn't go into detail, but my assumption is then she took them to due process. Okay. So the case says OAH confirms, which is the Office of Administrative Hearings. And this is for the state of California, but this could be for any state. This could happen in any state. That their schools are not required to use a board certified behavior analysis, which is analyst, which is a BCBA, to conduct a functional behavior assessment, FBA, which is 100% true. 100% true. But does that mean that you accept their no? Hell no. Hell no. Did they win because she requested it and then jumped to due process? Mm-hmm. And they would have, because it's not required. All right. So that is important to know. All right. It's not required, but that doesn't mean you can't get it. All right. She just went about it wrong. All right. So what I say to school districts, all right, is number one, when I'm requesting evaluations And I get two different kind of reactions. All right. When I'm asking for evaluations, it's, I want to have a meeting. I want to discuss evaluations, because a lot of times they'll want to send the form and they'll check off the boxes, academic, cognitive, speech, OT, blah, 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 and send you the form and say, sign it. All right. Nope, not signing it. We need to have a meeting and discuss this as a team. And here's the thing is, technically they get to pick and choose what evaluations that they do. And usually, many times they don't do all the evaluations that they're supposed to do, in my opinion. And is my opinion pretty on point? Mm-hmm. They don't want you to know everything that's going on, so they're not going to do all the evaluations that they need to do. Now, is that every school? No. But does that happen a lot? A lot. So here's the thing, is where she went wrong was once the school was like, nope, we're not doing that. We're not doing a BCBA. Because what a lot of schools will do is they'll say, oh, we do it as a team. What's that? Oh, well, the psychologist does it and the teacher is a part of it. And, the counselor or social worker, whoever, and, they'll name, a couple people. Make sure you guys say hello. I don't see any hellos, but I see a ton of people on here. So say hello and post a 1 below if it's your first through third time catching me live, a 2 below if you're an oldie but goodie. Tell me where you are from, okay? I want to know. So the next thing is, they will, I'm trying to get my bearings now because I was like, where was I at? Okay. So they will say things like, in the group of people that they do, they will say things like live viewers coming. So it's an example. Okay. So here is the link for my group people real quick. Because I don't want you to not be able to comment. It's a freaking Facebook thing. Sorry, y'all. But I just want to post this really quick. So you guys can comment and I know who you are. So do you guys see where it says the StreamYard thing? So go to StreamYard and then I will be able to access your picture will be able to be accessed. It's so stupid, y'all. I'm sorry. So I'm going to post that here. All right. So here's what happened is, what happens is when you have a group of people do things like that. Oh, we're going to all do the FBA. All right. So you have everybody and their freaking mother doing observations. So you have the psychologist, you have the teacher, you have somebody else and somebody else and somebody else. All right. And then typically, the psychologist will write it up. But many times I have actually seen a teacher write it up. When teachers go to school, they are not taught how to write FBAs. They are not educated in depth unless they went to extra school and so on and so forth. So I can't comment to that, of course. But there is no in, getting our bachelor's in education or, special education or there's not, it's not BCBA quality. And there's no, this is how you write an FBA, because that is not their job. And so you have all these people doing this evaluation, and then one person writes it up. So it's like playing telephone. All right. So, hey, Kim, how are you? So it's like me doing an observation. Kim's doing an observation. Somebody else is doing an observation. Everybody turns in their observations and then somebody writes it up. And then they're supposed to come up with the antecedent, which is what is happening around the environment and everything else. What classroom? What is it in the lunchroom? Is it at PE? Is it in the classroom? Is it when a different child's in the classroom? Is it the teacher? Who the hell is it? What's going on? Why is this behavior happening? Okay. They're supposed to figure that out. Then they have to, incorporate all these different observations. Then they have to figure out, the next part of the ABCs is behavior, then the consequence, but we don't want to get to the consequence. So that's not the point of a BIP being created, which is, an FBA is to determine if a BIP needs to be created. And so, we have to look at, okay, what's the antecedent? That's the most important part. The second most important part is what are you going to teach that child in order to replace that negative behavior with a positive one. Okay. But you have all these people chiming in, and you're not going to get a solid, good, evidence-based, in my opinion, document, FBA. So a lot of times it's shit. All right. Not always, but a lot of times it's shit. All right. And that doesn't mean any one of the people who did anything did something horribly wrong. What it means is when you take a lot of people and put a lot of opinions together, where's the fact? Okay. When you take one BCBA going in, talking to everybody that works with the child, doing their own observations, and normally they do multiple, 3, 4, 5 in different areas, different places, etc., and then write up a full-blown report in which they are trained specifically to do, then you have typically a solid FBA with your good hypothesis, with a good antecedent, with, hopefully a written out way in which, a replacement behavior could be put into play, etc. All right. So where she went wrong when the school was objective to bringing in a BCBA or using a BCBA and was putting their foot down, knowing that it is the school's decision in the long run and they're just being assholes, then accept it. If you don't accept it, you're the asshole. Okay. And what I mean by that is you're going to be the one in the wrong. You're going to be the one that looks like you're not working with the school. Okay. And so you don't want to be an asshole. Okay. You want to be that team player. Okay. And you do want to, and in being team players, the school should have been open to her. There should have been conversation. There should have been reasoning. There should have been, reassuring her that they would do the best job possible, that they would go above and beyond to observe and, write a good report. Okay? Because there's nothing within this due process that talks about a good report. It's only simply, is the school required to use a BCBA in order to conduct an FBA? It's not about if the report is good or not. Okay? So this isn't about the report. This is about the requirement of the school district, and can the parent kind of order them to use a BCBA, which they should anyway. They should want to. Okay? Because that is the most qualified person. And that's where a fight actually can happen if done in the right way, where a fight can actually happen, because it is an idea that the most qualified, highly qualified person is the person who's supposed to do XYZ in areas that are required. Okay. But it's like this whole, you're on this teeter-totter of figuring out how to do it in the right way in making it happen. All right. So there's an easier way. Let them do the report. Let them fuck up or not fuck up. All right. I'm just going to keep it real. They could do a great report or they could do a crap report. Let them do the report. Okay. Just say, you know what? Okay. Go ahead. Do it. Does it waste a little bit of time? Sure. But in the meantime, call a BCBA, get yourself on a list, and let them know what your plans are. All right. And hey, if you're surprised in the end and they end up doing an amazing job, perfect. Cancel your appointment. Okay. If they don't, where the parent should have gone is let the school do it. Say they screw up. Say it's not a good report. Ask for an IEE. That is your right. An independent educational evaluation is your right to go wherever you choose to an evaluator of your choice equal to or above the educational level of the evaluator. Okay. And that's it. All right. School districts send you stuff on, oh, you can only spend this much money. You know, you can only be within this distance, blah, blah, blah. I can tell you how to fight that one too. But bottom line, what you want to focus on is let them do the report. Don't not let them do the report, because she lost just because of that. Because she was saying, oh, I object that the school staff, I don't want the school staff to do the report. She objected to that. And the school said, oh, well, we're going to do the report in, you know, with all of our staff and not with the BCBA. So she said, okay, go into the due process. That was a mistake. It should have been, you suck it up, you say, okay, let them do their report, ask for an IEE. Done. Then you have a BCBA come in and do their evaluation. And it's very seldom that a school district will pay for an IEE, because they pay for the IEP or they take you to due process. More likely than not, they're going to pay for the IEE. You know, have I had situations where they took a parent to due process? Yeah. But is it likely? No. And is it something that usually sticks, or do they drop it, or does an agreement come into play? Mm-hmm. They usually don't go to, you know, due process. I mean, you could look up the percentage of how many due processes happen over an IEE, because that would just be dumb on the school's part to spend money, spend taxpayers' dollars, spend their budget on taking a parent to due process over a damn IEE. What are they trying to hide? See what I'm saying? So she should have sucked it up, let them do the evaluation and report, and then ask for an IEE. All right? Then you take that IEE back to the school district and you look at both. I would have looked at both and looked at, okay, are they similar? Are they completely opposite? Red flag. Or are they pretty similar and we just need to figure out, okay, is the antecedents, the key thing would be, is the antecedents on point? All right. Are they seeing the same thing? And then if not, then that's a problem. Then we look at, okay, now we have several different brains coming into play where we can say that to me, that's the perfect collaboration, arena for everybody to come together and talk about what are we going to do in order to make sure that that child learns a positive behavior in order to replace that negative behavior, right? So that is what she should have done. So instead of, I want a FBA, I want, a BCBA to do it. Great thing to do. I always say that to do that. And then the school objects and says no. So the parent objects to the FBA that the school wanted to do. All right. The school actually wanted to do this one. And so in the long run, the parent takes the school district to due process, not knowing, I assume, that they were going to lose right out the gate. Right out the gate. All right? Because they had nothing to stand on. You had nothing to go off of. You have to give them the opportunity to succeed or fail. All right? The hope is for them to succeed. But if they fail, that's when you ask for the IEE. But you got to give them that opportunity so you have something to work with. Then if something transpired and there was argument and whatnot and, due process had to happen, then okay, so be it. But to just jump into due process because a school district requests a FBA, which is a great thing for a school district to ask for, and then you're saying, nope, I object because you're not going to use a BCBA, when that's not required, even though it's the smartest thing to do, and that you should get one from a BCBA. I 100% agree with her. However, she went about it the wrong way. Don't make that mistake. All right? If you're asking for an FBA or they're asking for an FBA, yes, ask for a BCBA. Why? Because they're the most qualified. They may argue that, but bottom line, that's what a BCBA goes to school for. They have master's degrees, and then they go to school extra, kind of like a heart surgeon, and they learn and do behavior stuff. Okay? That is what they do. So there's no one more qualified than that, unless it's a psychologist who has that extra behavior stuff. And then, it's kind of like equal to, I guess you could say, but BCBAs, that is their job, to figure out that antecedent, the behavior, and why the behavior is happening, and to figure out what's the best way in which to replace that behavior and teach that child that replacement behavior in order to remove the negative behavior. So that's what she did wrong, okay? And understanding that the school districts, when it comes to requesting evaluations and requesting who does the evaluations, there is no requirement of the school to do, if I say I'm requesting, the KTEA, okay, or any other assessment, all right, which granted, 98% of the time, school districts do the evaluations I ask for, because I ask for very good evaluations. I have reasoning behind them. And then I say, but put into the PWN any other evaluation deemed appropriate by the evaluator. So I want them to do everything that they feel is appropriate, but there's certain ones I'm asking for specific reasons as well. And so to me, that's collaboration. And a lot of schools will collaborate with me. The ones that don't are the ones that, they just want to make life hell for you. And, we all know that happens. And so for them, I have to decide, do I push it, and just argue with them and see if they're finally willing to come together? Yeah, you typically do. But if they're holding steady on, nope, we're going to do these, et cetera, then I simply say, okay, I know for a fact, based on this, and this, which are fact based on your IEP, the signed IEP, the documentation, any type of data that I have, et cetera, that these are not all the appropriate and adequate evaluations that are supposed to be done on this child, because you are supposed to do all evaluations on this child, period. All right. And if they're not, then you need to do what is necessary in order to ensure that happens. All right. No ands, ifs, or buts. Okay. Kim, can you hear me? I just want to make sure. So I will simply say, okay, fine. You're not doing everything that's adequate for the child. This is not in the interest of the child. While you can pick and choose whatever evaluations you want to do, all of these evaluations are not going to give you the full picture. So go do what you want to do. When you're done, when we're done reviewing them, we're going to ask for an IEE, because I can't trust that I'm going to get the whole picture of the child, because you're refusing to do many of the appropriate and adequate evaluations on this child in order to figure out the whole picture, because you're obviously having problems. And this is typically the number one thing I'll say, because it's typically across the board, because you're obviously having problems because the child's making trivial progress. So you obviously are also not recommending the appropriate services, accommodations, goals, and more, which is a violation for the child that is most appropriate for them. So not only are you violating the child's rights, then you're also, refusing to do appropriate and adequate evaluations. All right. And based off, and I have proof, I won't say that unless I got proof of XYZ, and then I will say, so when you're done, we will listen to you. We will hear you out and we will review the evaluation, but more likely than not, we will be asking for an IEE because of your refusal to get the whole picture of the child, period. And I make sure that is said clearly and on recording. All of my IEPs are recorded. And so, there's only 2 that couldn't be this year. And, I won't work with districts like that, because that is, I tell the parent, that's a red flag. They're hiding something, and we've got to get that on recording. All right. Because if a school district is not scared, if they're not hiding something, if they're, open and transparent and so forth, they too would want it on recording for their own recollection of things that happen, because so much is talked about, and it does not have to be or have a negative connotation to it. And it doesn't have to have that negative, oh, I'm going to get you because we record it. No, 99.9% of the time that I record IEP meetings, it's so I can go back and listen. This is what was said. Okay, cool. This is what was said, because mistakes are made in the things that we're interpreting because we forget. Okay. Now, is there times that it's used where, you're not telling the truth? Of course. But is it mostly for the recollection of what has been said and being sure of what is being basically transcribed on email as to what was said and being accurate with it? Okay. So it sucks for this parent, but she can also go back and do it that way. Okay. And request it herself and say, hey, I know I lost, but I lost because I required you to do it this way. So this time, go do it. And then I will request an IEE based on the fact that your evaluation was not appropriate. Now, that's only if it isn't appropriate. Some school districts, and teams, I will 100% say, I've had teams do better evaluations at times than BCBAs. I have had that happen. Is it the typical? No. But is it something that's happened? Yeah, it has. So, you never not want to give the ability for them to do something, because then you have no argument. All right. So if you are able to say your child needs specially designed instruction, all right, you're arguing it, right? And it's like you feel like you're going crazy because you're like, oh my God, they're never gonna do anything, And I'm like, I'll even say, why do you not want to help this child? Why are you so opposed to helping this child? You say you're out for, what's in the interest of the child, but that is not what your actions are showing. And, then many times I try to guide the conversation into being collaborative and let's work together. Look, all I'm asking for is this. The child needs more specially designed instruction because she's not making progress. Why don't you want to help her? And then there's some compromise having to happen. Because if a child really does need specially designed instruction and the school's refusing it, then that's when you do need to push it further. You don't just let it go and let your child make trivial progress. I mean, no, no. Okay, you do whatever you need to do, win or lose, to make sure that happens. That's how I look at it. Okay, if I went to due process, that's how I look at it in my head. If I had to go to due process and if I lost, at least I know as a parent that I did everything within my power. Do you know what I mean? And then I still wouldn't give up, even if I did lose. I would take it another step level, depending on what it was, But I would always go with my gut. And so you don't just give up because they said no. No. You're not going to get anywhere giving up because they said no, or because they scare you, or because you're scared that they're going to do something to your child because, you're a pain in their ass. They're not going to do anything to your child. Has that happened? Yes. Is it something that's common? No, it's not. Okay. Now, will they come after you? Yeah. Who cares? I say, bring it. Come after me. Because no matter what you do, I don't care. I could do the same thing to you. I'm not evil like that. But you know what? You want to come after me because I'm going to do the right thing for the child no matter what? Bring it. All right? Because the goal is to collaborate. If you want to fight, fine. I'll fight. But I don't want to fight. I want to get along. We don't got to like each other, but I want to get along. I want to collaborate. But I can't collaborate with a wall. I can't collaborate if you're always going to say no. That's not collaboration. That's not including the parent as an equal team member. If all they're getting is no, 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 that's not collaboration. So if I don't have anything to work with, then you're giving me no choice but to take this step further. Just like I did with that darn California state complaint of 10 complaints. That school district's thinking otherwise now. They sure are. Going into the next conversation, which is plus compensatory services. Does your child need compensatory services? Have you asked for compensatory services in the schools? Like, no, your child doesn't need that. They don't qualify. Why don't they qualify? Well, your child didn't lose anything. Well, they didn't gain anything either. Well, they didn't lose anything. It's only for kids that lose stuff. How many times have you heard that one? They got to lose stuff. It goes same for ESY. Oh, they didn't regress, so we can't give them ESY. We can't do that. Regression is just one little tiny piece of ESY, but they will swear up and down that it's based off just regression. It's not. All right. Fight it. All right. If there's no collaborating, everybody talks about collaboration and how advocating is all about collaboration. I hear it till I'm blue in the face and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to be that evil freaking advocate that is just different than everybody else, but I still get it done. Is, an advocate here in Northern Virginia that I spoke with, and she's all about collaboration. I'm trying to work with school. She's getting nowhere. There comes a time with anything, guys, where enough's enough. How long do you want to go with your child making trivial progress because you want to collaborate? The goal is to collaborate. The want is to collaborate. But if you're working with a damn wall, you can only collaborate with a wall so much. Hey, wall, what's up? This is the stuff that I want. Can I have it? What are you going to get back? Nothing. So if you're getting nothing back by everything that you're saying and you're wanting and you're needing for your child, and without a doubt that this is what your child needs, or that your child didn't receive it and now needs compensatory services in order to basically compensate for what wasn't provided or given or lost. And we all know that there's no blame, at least from my end. Okay, I don't blame a school or a person for things not being given during COVID. It was just a shit show and we all know it. And, could things have been done better? Sure. But were we prepared? Will we be prepared next time? If there is a next time, okay, I hope we are. But if to expect, someone to be prepared for something like that and for perfection to happen is unreasonable. So it sucks all the way around. All right. But just like California has to do with LAUSD, they got what, 20 something, I got to look up the number, but it's like 20 something thousand students I got to give compensatory services to. I don't even know how that's going to be possible. I really don't. I'm curious to hear because I don't see it happening. I see people joining. So for those of you who are joining, I'm going to work out. Yep. I'm in my workout gear. I'm not naked or anything. Okay. And, I had to come live to tell you guys about this because if I didn't, then I'd have been like fighting with my brain of like, do I go live? I'm sweaty. And then if I have to take a shower and then I have to put on makeup because people judge, then it's going to take forever. And then Sky's going to be home and then I'm not going to have time. And then I'm going to have to do dinner. Yeah. I have these fights with myself. Am I the only psycho person and mom that has these fights with themselves of how to like manage time? I'm like, managing time is so difficult. Kim says this last year when they did my child's evaluation, they said what they wanted to do and even added some to get a better picture. Right. But the only reason they did that, Kim, is because they knew that if they didn't, you were going to sick me on. And they didn't want to see my face again. So I'm just kidding. But yeah, they knew the quality of evaluations we would have asked for. And if they didn't come to the table with that, and that's one thing that I pride myself on. School districts may hate me when I come into play. Okay, I respect that. And they may get an attorney. Okay, I actually like working with attorneys better than I do the school district sometimes. Like some TikToks I've seen from other advocates, if they get an attorney right away, that's a red flag. That should tell you right away that your gut was right. Something's not right. If they get an attorney right away, something's not right. They're scared of something. Why don't they want to deal with me? Why don't they want to, have a conversation? If they're doing everything right, come to the table and support what you got. What you scared of? Why you hiring an attorney right away? And yeah, I'm talking to all you school districts that I'm dealing with right now that hired an attorney right away. What's up? What'd you do wrong? I already know what you did wrong, but why not come confront the situation? Because guess what? I'm not the type of advocate that sits and dwells on the past. Will I point out what you did wrong? Yes. But will I sit and dwell on everything that you did wrong after voicing what was done wrong? No. What I do is say, hey, these mistakes were made. Let's move on in the right direction and provide this child everything that's needed and appropriate and work together. And then if the school district chooses to work with me, then perfect. That's what I want. But if they choose to fight, all right, because all this, conversation is happening about, advocates and, the ways they do things and, judgment, all right, judge all you want. I am cool with that because I get things done and that's all I care about. All I care about is the child getting what they need. Do I care about what he or she or him or her thinks about my approach? Nope. Because whatever works. That's how I look at it. I will start it out very nice. But if you want to get mean, I can get meaner. And that's just how it is. And I know there's lots of you out there that may disagree with that, and I respect that. But I also know there's tons of you out there that's like, I need her because I'm done with this. I am done with this. And those are the parents that come to me. Those are the parents I want. The parents that are just done. Okay? They're not working with you. You're frustrated. Your child's not making progress. You know that if you don't do anything, that it's like almost going to be too late. And, if you're one of the, parents that have the perfect opportunity to start when your child's young because you see problems arising and happening, that you want to fight it at that moment. Okay? And a lot of times when I say fight, of course, I don't mean physical fight. But when I say fight, that is on them. Anybody who thinks that a good advocate would go in just ready to fight and let's do this is stupid. Okay? And I don't mean to name call, but anybody who says that, and there's people that have, is dumb because that is not the approach. The approach is to get along. The approach is to come into play and say, look, guys, mom and dad have been trying at this, grandparent has been trying at this, or whoever has been trying at this, and y'all aren't budging. What's up? Let's do this. Let's do what's in the interest of the child. We need to do this because it's going to lead to the end game, which is what IDEA states, to have a productive, child that is able to go out into the world as an adult and be as productive as possible. And what I mean by that is if that child can, get a job, it doesn't matter what kind of job, or, hey, Katie, how are you? I know they got an attorney, and she's actually nice, but the other attorney is she's old school. That's what she is. I'm trying to move my chair up. I can't move my chair up. See it? I hate that. It's like stuck on one of those pads. So yes, anybody joining? Yes, I'm in my workout clothes. I had to go live because I could not tell you guys this. And, I had this fight with myself of do I go live before, I work out, and, the crazy things that parents and moms think, because we're trying to manage our time. So I even had my Mickey Mouse, hat that I put on. Isn't that cute? I got it at Disney World. I love it. Okay. So moving on. understanding that's where I come from, is I always start out nice. Always. Okay. I send my first letter and email. I say, we need to get together, have an IEP meeting. Here are the evaluations that we need, because unless the child has had evaluations in the past, 10 months to a year, then I always ask for evaluations. I need to get on point present levels. And that is hands down. I nitpick that. All right. They've got to have on point present levels. All right. And they have to stay up to date. Okay. They need to change all the time and be amended all the time, to be quite honest. Not always, but a lot of times. Okay. And that doesn't happen. The schools want to meet every year and say, okay, here's new goals. Well, what about the other goals? What about which ones did they master? Which ones they didn't? What kind of data do you have to show me that these goals were mastered? How come? Where's all this stuff at? They'll just tell me they're mastered and send me God, I hate progress reports. I hate progress reports. They're the dumbest piece of paper that we could possibly get. What do? They send us a piece of paper that repeats the goals that you guys already have in the IEP. And then they do it different ways. They'll circle, like in my school area and in this area, they'll circle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So 1 is they didn't start it yet. 2 is they're getting ready to start it. 3 and they're just starting it, kind of thing. 3 is they are sufficient. 4 is, they're making some progress, and 5 is they mastered it. What the hell is that going to tell me? You repeat the goal that I already know of that's in the IEP, and then you tell me my child's, because most of the time it's sufficient. So you're telling my child's sufficient. What the hell does that mean? What was the point of this stupid progress report? I mean, they have to send progress reports. I just got them in California because they didn't send them. But here's the thing. If you're going to send me a progress report, you better send data for every single goal. And what the hell you mean by sufficient, making progress, mastered. If it's mastered, send me a piece of paper so I can sign that you're going to record my child in various different settings, multiple times mastering this goal. Yeah, I do ask for that. And you have to sign something, and they can't say they can't do it. They don't have to show who's doing it. The para, I mean, most of the time they do for me, or not the para, but the teacher. All right. Most of the time they show the picture of the teacher, obviously with the teacher's approval. But if the teacher's not embarrassed about what she's doing, then why not? But if they don't, I don't care. I don't care who's doing it. Show me it's mastered multiple times. Show my kid's picture. All right. So, I mean, I'm joking when I say don't send me a progress report. But I honestly mean that wording, because I'm like, what the hell's the point? It doesn't tell me anything. Not a damn thing. They're required to send it based on what? Their opinion? Not that a teacher's thoughts and how they're working with a child is not important, but they don't put all that in a progress report. And if they do make a comment, it's usually 1, 2, maybe 3 sentences that tells me nothing as well. So I'm like, okay, what was the point of this? That was a waste of their time. I just call it how it is, guys. I call it how it is. And I can tell you this. Many teachers, I'm not going to tell you how I know this, but I will tell you that I know this for a fact, that many teachers will tell you themselves. Well, they won't tell you themselves, but they say, yeah, it's a damn waste of time. We all know it is. Come on. All right. Unless you're going to give me data and prove that the mastery is there, or prove that sufficient progress is being made, why the hell are you filling out a document that isn't going to tell me anything? I'm not there. I don't see it. So how am I going to understand what sufficient means? I have no clue what that means. Sufficient. Does it mean they can do it? They do it sometimes. Does it mean they do it, I don't know, when they want to? How many times do you do it? You know? And goals are so important in how they're written. So you know how many times it's done, how many times they need to get it correct in order to meet that goal. And then and never do under 80% for a final yearly goal. And, or 8 out of 10, or, you know what I mean? And know, how is that data going to be taken? That is key. For example, service providers, many times, not always, they always, you know, I like to hear what they say and how they take data. But last year, most said to me, well, we take data each time they come, but then we do the goal, so to speak, because they don't have to work on, say in speech, the child has 4 goals. The speech therapist isn't required to work on all 4 goals at each and every speech session. Okay. So they could work on one of the 4 goals and they take data on that across multiple different sessions. So in your goal, this is why I'm making a course and creating a course on present levels and goals, because it's so important. And this is not in like 95% of the IEPs that I see, is you have to have that speech therapist. They're used to, okay, service providers are used to writing things in a certain way that makes no damn sense. To them, it does. To parents, it does not. Okay. And that's what's important. And I'll tell you what I heard a lot last year that drove me nuts was, oh, well, we weren't taught to write it like that. I don't care. I don't care how you were taught to write it. Who taught you to write it anyway? Who taught you? Oh, well, my boss. Well, I don't care what your boss said. Your boss is wrong. Because a goal, there's only certain requirements for goals. They have to be written with clarity and finality. They have to be written with, you know, a purpose, and you have to 100% know, what is it that child has to do? What are you asking them to do? Okay. Are you asking them to walk in a straight line in the hallway? Okay. How many times do they walk in a straight line? How many times are you going to measure? It has to be measurable. How many times are you going to measure that they walked in a straight line in the hallway? 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 10 times? Across how many days? What period of time are you going to be measuring that in order to tell me that it's mastered? Making progress, whatever. Okay? Because they don't do that. They don't write that in there. I'm telling you, 95% of IEPs do not have this information that you need to have in there. You need to know, okay, if you're going to do, I hate to see 4 out of 5 times. That drives me nuts. But just say, it says 4 out of 5 times. 4 out of 5 times out of what? Out of how much time? Out of the quarter? If you have a 9-week quarter, out of 9 weeks, they have to do it 4 times and get it right out of 9 weeks. And you're going to tell me it's mastered? Or is it 4 out of 5 times every 2 weeks throughout the 9 weeks? And we look at the picture, right? So that's how I like to have goals. Okay. So if we have, okay, the child has to, let's just hypothetically, okay, I hope your child does not have this goal, but child has to walk in a straight line in the hallway without touching other students. All right. Let's just say it's 4 out of 5 times. Again, I don't like 4 out of 5 times, but if it is 4 out of 5 times, let's just go with it. All right. So 4 out of 5 times. So 5 times the child walks in the hallway. So if you do it in the same day, this is how I say it to them. Okay. So 4 out of 5 times. So if they do it 5 times in the same day, does that mean they mastered it and they're done? Because that's memorization. And then they like ramble. No, we're going to change this goal. It needs to be clear. It needs to be measurable. I need to know how you're measuring this. Okay, so here's what needs to happen. I'm just telling you as parents and, you know, caregivers, in my experience of 20 plus years, it is very important I like to do the 2-week measurement. All right, because I respect the fact that teachers want to teach. They don't got time to take data every freaking day. If you want to take data every day, go for it. Go for it. But do I expect a teacher to take data every day on 5, 6, 7 different students? That would suck. All right. So what I want, at least for my child, is, okay, if you want my child to walk in a straight line without touching other kids 4 out of 5 times, do it in a 2-week period. So 5 times your child's going to walk in the hallway straight without touching other students within 2 weeks. So then, okay, let's take data on that. So within this 2 weeks, your child walked in a straight line without touching other students twice out of 5 times. Okay, data. All right. So if you have a 9-week grading period when the report cards come out, because that's when you're supposed to get progress reports, right? So then the next 2 weeks. All right. How many times out of the 5 did my child walk straight in a line without touching other students? Oh, my child walks 3 times this time out of 5 times. Cool. Let's write that down. All right. So the next 2 weeks. All right. Now we're at 6 weeks, right? So out of 5 times in that 2-week period, how many times did my child walk straight without touching other kids? Oh, my child walked back to 2 times. Okay. Happens. All right. Now we're going to the next 2 weeks. All right. 6. We're at 8 weeks now. So I say 4 times in a 9-week period is what I say. And so say they went up to 4 out of 5 times. I'm just giving you an example of how things should play out in order to properly measure it. Now, is that the only way? No. But is it a way that works and you get some good data? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. All right. Because then that teacher's taking data over a 2-week period, 10 days, all right, for them, over a 2-week period instead of every single day. Teachers that say that they take data every single day, do I think that's credible? No. That's my opinion. But in 20 plus years, I have found myself to be right many times. And I don't know anyone in their right mind who wants to take data every day. Now, are you making notes? Are you making comments? Are you making, different things and putting it in writing of, this was not a good day and, all those little intricacies that are super important? Yes. But are you taking that direct data for that goal every single day? I would hope not. Because where does the teaching come in? All you're doing is memorize this, memorize this, memorize this, memorize this. Let me bang it in your head because hopefully it'll stick. That's not the way to learn. That is not the way to learn. Same thing with, those stupid benchmarks. Hey, get on a computer, take this over and over and over. Because I bet, have you asked how many times you give this to my kid? How many times you put my kid on a computer and have them take this benchmark before you got this score? How many scores did you not give me? And I can tell you, when I've asked for FOIA requests, okay, so that you got FERPA, which is your child's records and so forth. The FOIA is stuff outside of your child's records. And I've asked for that multiple times when I've needed them. And boy, do you find out some 411 for my own child. Okay, this is where things, the emails. My mouth was, they sent me a Lexia evaluation, benchmark, which is not a formal evaluation. Okay. It's a way in which benchmarks are a way in which a teacher can measure progress, but it's not, something to just 100% go off of as to where the child is, because a lot of it is built off memorization. Okay. But is it a good way in which for the teacher to gather data and information and so forth? Yes. Okay. But is it something to that's where my child is? No. So it's something among all kinds of things in which to consider. Okay. So let's skip on it. You know, you may agree, you may disagree, and that's okay. But these are things that have happened all last year, all the year before. And I'm just informing you of things that happen. All right. They're not things that haven't happened. And everything that I tell you, I have on recording. Everything. And in my membership, I'm going to be playing some of these recordings for you with, of course, the parent's signature. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to be playing some of these for you. I want to give you the ability to sit and listen to some of the stuff that happens. The stuff that comes out of my mouth that is like, oh my God, she's so negative. All she does is talk crap and this, that, and the other. But I'm not, and it kind of goes with, you know, the present levels. I'm not looking for the strengths. Sorry, I'm just not. Do I want to know the strengths? Yes. Do I think the parents know that the child's already awesome? Yes. But the child has an IEP because of their needs, not because of their strengths. So don't tell me the child, you know, just put into present. I want to know this, but don't just put into the present levels that the child's a sweet child, he dresses nice, and that he likes to swing. Okay, awesome. Now let's build into the needs, which is why they have the IEP. What are you going to do about those needs? How are you teaching them? What are you doing for the things that they're not good at and there's needs there and they need to be met and they're not making progress on them? What are you going to do to change that? That's what I want to know. That's what needs to be put into the present levels. That's what you need to know so that you can hold yourself and them accountable as to how the implementation of the IEP is going to be provided. Don't you want to know these things? How is it being implemented? We can put this perfect IEP together, but if you don't stay on top of things being implemented in the right way, what's the point? Right? We have to make sure the implementation of the IEP with fidelity is being done. And the only way that you're going to do that is by the data, finding out, asking on a bi-weekly basis, monthly basis as to what's going on. Send me data, send me my child's work. How's everything going? Keep that communication and that dialogue open. If you feel that dialogue isn't flowing and there's like, you know, they're holding back or they're not wanting to, you know, share with you, that's a red flag. A teacher should want to share with a parent. They should want to share everything that child's doing, the successes and the failures and the needs and what they're doing about those needs. You have a right to know these answers. And that's why in my big course, my signature course, Rock the IEP, I teach you how you never make a statement in an IEP. You ask a question, okay? You take your statement and make it a question. You flip it. Question, question, question. The more you get somebody talking, the more information you gather. And that's where I go into my hunt and gather, which is in my course. Okay, so moving on, compensatory services, all right? So compensatory services, all right, is not just given to a child from COVID, all right? It's talked about more often because COVID. It's talked about more often because of things that transpired with COVID, sure. But is it something that is just given because of COVID? No. So I'm going to tell you about a case where the school was not, and this is a school I'm actually working with right now. It's the same school that I made the 10 complaints with. Okay. And it was, I just happened to find it today. All right. And it went with my live. All right. And this is actually written from a attorney's office. So this decision was all for the school. Okay. Did the school still do things wrong? Yeah. And they were docked for that, you know. And in issue number 1, that then the judge said that they owe the child compensatory services. All right. And because they were docked for one area. And number one was, did the school, I never do names, okay, for school districts. I actually do have respect for that. And that's why, I feel, I've heard things mentioned and, school districts mentioned and, things like that. And I just feel like, you can hate a school district all you want. At least for me, unless something really went down and like the parent went to the paper or something like that, I still will not use the school district's name. All right. Will I tell you what happened? Will I tell you what transpired? Will I tell you everything? Yes. But will I leave the school district's name out of it? Yes, I do. I can tell you it's in California. So did the school district deny the student a free appropriate public education, FAPE, from March 2020 until the end of the 2019-2020 school year by assigning student to distance learning without continuing to provide in-person services and evaluating the student, or providing necessary accommodations to ensure the student was able to maintain, okay, just lost my spot. I was able to obtain a FAPE through distance learning. Did the school district deny FAPE for that year through the date filing of due process complaint by assigning the student to distance learning without certain things? Okay, so they were founded. Let me scroll down. All right, so the student partially prevailed in issue number 1A. The student is entitled to a remedy for the denial of a FAPE. The ALJ, so the judge, California uses judges always, which I really like because a lot of school districts use attorneys. Are some of the attorneys really great? Yes. Are some of them not so great, just like everything else? Yes. So it's very smart when you're going to due process to, look up on the education website of, their different cases, how they rule, kind of their demeanor, all of those kind of things, because then you have an idea of, kind of which way they lean. Are they always for the school district? Are they not? Are they understandable and reasonable? That's what you really want. You don't want someone that's like, oh, they're going to be for the parent, or oh, they're going to be for the school district. I want someone that's just fair. All right, just give me fair. All right. So it says that ALJs have a broad latitude of fashion, and they're able to basically say what the school district needs to do in order to like compensate for what the wrongdoing was. Okay. And so let me explain what compensatory education is, because that's really important for you to remember. All right. So compensatory education is, well, first, let me explain that the remedies of whatever went wrong from a due process, and say the child prevailed in certain areas, because in due process, it could be where you have 10 complaints and the parent wins 3, the school wins 7. It could be the parents wins 7, the school wins 3. Doesn't matter. Okay. It's all about, doing what your gut says is right and not giving up on the child and pushing through, win or lose. So the goal, though, is with any due process request, whether it's by you or by the school district, is hopefully to mediate and come to some consensus on what path you can take. In my opinion, when due process is requested with mediation, it's more successful than just mediation. All right. Why? Because that due process is kind of over the head, and that umbrella, if you will, and it makes things, and there's a timeline. So it makes things move quicker, where just a request for mediation it has to be approved by both parties. And, a lot of times the school district will say yes, but then it's kind of, and this isn't always, but I've noticed that many times it can just be a waste of time. They'll give you a couple things just to shut you up. And then you kind of leave feeling like, okay, that really didn't solve my problem. Even though you may feel at the time, like, because you're nervous and you're thinking about other things and so on and so forth, that it is a positive thing because you're hearing, okay, we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this. But then you go home and you're like, okay, this doesn't solve anything. All right. So that's important. So compensatory services is education. All right. And hopefully it's equitable to the remedy that is dependent on the fact that is specified and specific to what it is that the child needs and or what the complaint was about. All right. If there was FAPE not provided, well, what part of FAPE was not provided? Did the child not make sufficient progress? Was it trivial? And if so, in what area? Was it just reading? Was it math? Was it math and reading? Where was that? And then you can then, the school hopefully will then provide the compensatory services in math and reading with specially designed instruction. And, there's that discussion of, the judge will usually say it needs to be for this amount of time or, for this many hours and whatnot. All right. And so that's really important. In the closing of this brief, this due process, it was argued by the parents and their attorney that the child, and this is what blows my mind, is they argued that the child should receive 23,040 minutes of academic instruction and compensatory services. Okay. What the hell? Come on now. I mean, I know attorneys, ask for above and beyond. I get it. I get that, and that's where things suck, y'all, because, we want that compensatory service. We want that, additional service. You should get that additional service. But then it comes down to the reasonability of it. And, you got to look at too, like, how big is your child's day? My daughter's day starts at 6 a.m. She doesn't get home till about 5:30. All right. And, an hour of that is a drive. All right. But do I want her doing 23,000 something hours of compensatory services on top of that day? Hell no. So that's what sucks is when so it's like no one wins. No one wins when it's like that. That was dumb to ask for. Now, had it said, this is what's owed, but this is what we're asking for, that would have been a little bit more reasonable, right? Don't forget, post a 1 below if it's your first or third time catching me live. Tell me where you're from. Post a 2 below if you're an oldie but goodie. You guys know what to do. So we got 23,040 minutes of academic instruction requested, 640 minutes of speech and language therapy requested, 200 minutes of occupational therapy requested, 3,600 minutes of extended school year services requested. Student justifies the 23,040 minutes of academic instruction by arguing that such and such only provided 1 hour of, because I'm not going to give you names, 1 hour of instruction per week by Zoom. Therefore, the student did not receive 1,440 minutes per week from March 13th, 2020 to the end of the 2019-20 year. However, the evidence demonstrates that while so-and-so held 1 synchronous session per week, she also made herself available for additional 3 hours per session. Neither parent or the student accessed that time, blah, 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 okay? So we have this mess here where this child's owed compensatory services. All right. Bottom line. All right. The school district then has to, provide compensatory services. And, the ALJ had to calculate, the hours in which the child was going to be given these compensatory services. And it ended up where the student's IEP provided that he would receive 1,500 minutes of specialized academic instruction per week and 20 minutes of speech services per week. This totals 4,500 minutes or 75 hours of academic instruction and 60 minutes or 1 hour of speech services for 3 weeks. Okay. I mean, This is crazy. All right. So basically where that ends up is the school district is unable to really take care of this. All right. So then it's where the school district pays for outside services to happen, on the parents' choice of who and where they go. And, then it becomes your problem of having to drive here, there, and everywhere to make up this service because many times a time frame's put on it. You can push the time frame, you can, negotiate the time frame, all of those things. So, in the long run, thank God, the ALJ ordered 80 hours. Okay, that's reasonable. All right. But do you see how many hours in which this child missed? That's not cool. But the ALJ had to be reasonable. I mean, we gotta do what's in the interest of the child. I mean, 23 something thousand hours, due to the diminished amount of services, accommodations, modifications, academic instruction, progress, and so forth, at that point is null because, we have to figure out, okay, what's in the interest of this student. All right. There's only so many hours in a day. But the fact that this district was held accountable, which I held them accountable as well, I have to say, is what's key. Okay. So you got to hold them accountable. So compensatory services are services that are provided that are, I like to say it where it needs to mesh, like you hear people, okay, if your child does something wrong, then punish them in accordance to the crime or whatever, right? So that can happen sometimes, and sometimes it can't. So we have to look at, what makes sense. What do we need to do? Where can we make the compensatory services make the most sense and be the most beneficial to the student? All right. So when asking for compensatory services, align it to where the child's needs are. Align it to where they screwed up. Align it to where progress wasn't made. All right. So hopefully that gives you some 411 on compensatory services. Compensatory services are not just, this was not provided during COVID. It could be the school district didn't follow the IEP with fidelity and your child didn't get 10 speech therapy services. Okay. And so they owe your child 10 speech therapy. That aligns with what they did, right? Another thing that's important to remember that I think a lot of you may not, at least I've found with many of my clients that has not happened, is when a speech therapist or service provider, all right, or whoever is doing specially designed instruction, whatever's in your child's IEP, is not there, is not present. Now, when your child's present, doesn't matter. Nothing happens. But if they're not present, which is why service logs are important. Ask for them monthly, quarterly if you want to, when report cards come out, when you get your progress report. So you can say, every time you send me a progress report, I want data to support what you're saying, and I want the service logs. Okay. And the service logs should have, the time they took your child, for how long they took your child, who took your child, what goal they worked on or goals, and, how they did, just a brief, little note. All right. It doesn't have to be detailed like that. It's not a book, but, just the sum. And so if someone is absent, now another speech therapist can come in and make up, take over that day. If the speech therapist is absent for whatever reason, and of course they can be absent, they can be sick, their kids can be sick, things happen, whatever. But that doesn't change the fact that your child is still owed that service. All right. Or then it becomes a 504 civil rights violation. So we have to look at, and you want to know, okay, was the speech therapist absent within that period of time, that 9-week grading period, or whatever you guys have, 9-week, 10-week, whatever. And if they were, Send that email saying when does the school district plan on making up the missed speech therapy on such and such date. And you can also ask the speech therapist, what dates have you not been present in the school? You have a right to know that. All right. And I would hope they would tell you the truth. And if not, you can get that information from the school district and not just from, their logs. Okay. And if you just had to get the service logs from the school district in a FOIA, which you shouldn't have to, but if you did, then they've got to provide that to you. And you shouldn't have to provide it get it with a FOIA because that's part of your child's records. So, and I would hope that, a speech therapist would say, yeah, I was absent 5 times throughout the school year or whatever. Okay, cool. When can we work out that child is making up those 5 school, because if it's only 5 and it's minimal, then that's easy. They can do another session, once a week for 5 weeks, right? Or they can, do 3 sessions for so many weeks or whatever. Or, if the child's day is totally crazy, then through the summer, they'll be provided 5 extra sessions. I'm flexible with that kind of stuff, because whatever works for you and them and whatever, and you'll come to an agreement with, and hopefully that's an easy collaboration. I'm not picky about that. Just make up the service. Be honest with me when you're not present, because we all know that nobody's there, all year and doesn't take a day off. Teachers deserve a day off. They deserve a mental health day off. They deserve, to obviously take care of their children, who should be first and foremost, just like ours are. They should be able to take sick days. They should be able to do everything that anybody else is able to do within their jobs, and it's just a simple, okay, I wasn't there, and so-and-so is going to be taking my place to make up, I've gone over, what we're working on, what's happening, et cetera, et cetera. And okay, cool, or, if you're not wanting that, extra person to come in and feeling that, the change could throw your child off, or it could actually not be a benefit, then voice that, because technically the school can provide a substitute. But if it's not going to be in the benefit of the child educationally, then that can be stopped and those services be made up by the regular speech therapist. But again, I'm all for generalization. You want to see if your child can do something outside of who they're just used to. And so be a little bit open. I had a difficulty doing that too, being open to the generalization piece and just kind of getting stuck in my ways with the one person. But generalization is important. Now, generalization for a child, who's nonverbal, and you don't want to give them speech therapy services one-to-one because you want to put them in a group and they don't talk. That's the dumbest generalization I've ever heard in my life. But you want to generalize and input and implement, what's being learned in services into the classroom, and implement it into, music, implement it into, how they're behaving in the lunchroom, implement it into all areas and facets of their education, 100%. But if you're going to do things that are educationally stupid, then that doesn't make sense to me. All right. And I'm not really sure who would think that it is educationally smart of anyone to take a child that is limited verbally or nonverbal and say, hey, I'm going to stick you in group therapy, speech therapy. I would love to know. I love a good debate. So I would love a healthy debate, but because I won't judge you, I expect you to not judge my thoughts and opinions. But my thoughts and opinions, just based off experience, is you take a nonverbal student, you stick them in a group who's all talking, and they can't talk. And more than likely, the expressive and receptive and obviously pragmatic is not there yet. So the foundation isn't there, but you're throwing them in a group. What the hell do you expect to happen? And what's ignored is the mental health piece. Okay, mental health is a big deal, because many of these kids who can't talk, how do you know that they don't feel like complete and utter shit, that they're stuck in a group and they can't talk? What makes you think that that child doesn't feel insufficient? What makes you think that child doesn't feel like, okay, I'm one big dummy because I can't talk. And say they have receptive language, just not expressive. So they're understanding everything. I didn't realize that about my own daughter. That, that's why I never really, other than twice, and I learned my lesson, spoke in a, not negative, but, what things that you just don't want them to hear, I did it twice and she repeated it, later. And I found out she heard me. And, so that never should be done. And, a child feeling insufficient and, just, I've heard kids say, I just feel dumb. I just feel dumb. So I don't get it. I've had a teenager say, I just feel dumb. I don't get it. I don't know why they're doing this with me. And, but she was verbal, different situation, but kids say that, then you have your more, impacted children who say one can't talk and you're sticking them in a group. And while there could be benefit in just the experience of being in an atmosphere where there's that collaboration and communication and speech therapy still happening, but in a group, yeah, there's some positives there. But in my thought process and experience, there's a lot more negatives than there are positives, and we have to consider that. And we have to consider that child's mental health. All right. And we have to consider what's more important here. Where's the benefit going to be? Let's not waste their time, our time, or anybody else's time. Where's the benefit? The benefit's going to be for a child that's limited verbally or nonverbal is going to be getting the foundation one-to-one with the speech therapist, or if it's OT or whatever. Okay. Foundations have to happen. If you don't build that platform, growth is not going to happen. You have to build the platform and that solid piece in which to start and begin. And you build from there. You hit some, hang-ups and hangers along the way. You deal with them. You move forward. Or if you slide back down to that foundation and then come back up, that's pretty typical and normal as well. But you're able to gauge where that child is. You're able to give them that solid foundation and the ability to develop language more in order to put it into play in a group. My 2 cents. And that's what I've argued in umpteen million meetings last year. The child won. I made sure of it. Because why? Because that was what was in the child's interest. Period. And they couldn't tell me that child wasn't impacted emotionally. So if you can't tell me that, when we all know that being put into a situation in which we can't do what everybody else is doing, who's not going to feel insufficient? Who's not going to feel possibly, okay, I'm the dumb one here because I can't talk and everybody else is talking and I'm just sitting here. I'm the one working with PEX cards or whatever else and everybody else is talking. We never know how a child is thinking or feeling if verbal language is not there. And many times with speech concerns and needs and issues, we're finding ourselves having to deal with also behavior issues because how frustrating it is for them. And how frustrating it is to get their words out when they want to get their words out. And, that's so important to keep in mind. And then to force them into a situation that just is it's not ideal. It would not be smart. All right. And it frustrates me as an advocate. And I've never said this. To any one person. But I will say it here and now. I don't understand. I will say I don't understand this. I don't understand how an educator with an education service provider proposing push-in services, group services, consultation more than direct one-to-one. The first thing my mind thinks is this person even educated in any way? But then after thinking about it and just knowing how things are, knowing the back end, hearing it for myself, district conversation, they are smart individuals, most of them. Okay. What it comes down to is how much they're worked, time, how many children are being serviced, how many speech therapists they have. All of those things come into play, along with when a school district knows, these are your arguments, this is what you're doing, this is why, and it's not providing FAPE because it's not appropriate. And then, of course, if the child's not making progress, which most of the time when I've worked on these cases, the child hasn't made progress, and I'm sitting there thinking and talking to the speech therapist thinking, am I really arguing with you about this? Is this really an argument that we're having right now? Are we really entertaining this argument? Please help me make sense of that. How do you entertain an argument? I don't do stupid. I don't do stupid. I don't do stupid. I don't know, or I didn't know. I apologize, I was wrong. I do that. I apologize when I'm wrong. I'm definitely not a know-it-all, for sure. And I don't like educators that try to be know-it-alls, or the ones that say, I've been doing this a whole decade or 30 plus years. How dare you question the way I teach? Okay, how dare me? Let's keep it moving. I'm questioning it. I am questioning it. Especially when, here's a situation, you send a child home with blood all over his shirt and you're telling me you don't know what happened. So you're telling me that you've been teaching 30 plus years. Don't question you, but you're not even watching the kid. I mean, I'm just saying. The situations and the scenarios and the stories that I could write a damn book on would blow your ever-loving mind. It really would. That's why I talk about what I talk about. That's why I try to get it out there, the knowledge and the understanding. And if it never happens to you, and I pray to God it doesn't, you at least can be knowledgeable of the games and the things that happen and the things that go into play. The teachers that want to help you and want to participate and want to communicate with you and want to, work with you and are willing to change things up and whatever. And then all of a sudden the school district and administration get a hold of them and then they stop talking. We just got to keep advocating, and we got to keep it moving, and we got to keep educating, and we got to keep never back down. Never back down from fighting, advocating, whatever the hell you want to call it, for your child. Getting the child in the end, whatever it is that's necessary and needed and appropriate, that is individually needed and appropriate for them, is what matters. At the end of the day, that's what matters. At the end of the day, does it matter if you got into an argument with a teacher? At the end of the day, does it mean that IEP meetings were tense as hell 5 times and then finally the 6th, 7th, and 8th time were great? No. Does it matter that things were said, arguments happened, that, things went both ways, that you were lied to, that past stuff happened, all these things that go into play when it comes to IEPs? They didn't listen to you. They shut you down. They, didn't do the things that were necessary in order to, provide the student what was needed and appropriate. Does all that matter at the end of the day if you have the right IEP? No. And you got to learn to let it go. I was asked a question one time, and I'm going to end with this. All right. So all of you people that are catching the replay, I know it's long. I always say, watch it in 15-minute increments. Post a 1 below if it's your first through third time catching me live. Post a 2 below if you're an oldie but goodie. Tell me where you're from. And, at the end of August, I will be pulling your name from a hat. So make sure to share this. And I will get you guys some good gifts this year. I did last year as well. But I always think that's just something fun to do. Because I'm all about, if this just helps one person, that's all that matters. So I will end with this. When I went through my hell, okay, at the end of the day, when we were at mediation, before we went to, because I had put in a request for due process, and they did not want to go to due process with me, I was asked a question. And that question was, Raven, what do you want more? Do you want to take the school district down? Because I wanted to take them down. I wanted them to pay for what they put me through. And more importantly, the failure that they did with my child. I wanted to take them down. I wanted to eat them alive. I'm going to be dead honest with you. Dead freaking honest. I don't care what you think. This is how I felt. And no one can take that away from me. I wanted to take them down. I was going to go to the paper. I was going to write all kinds of things. I was livid. And I knew not to do these things before things had come to a head. I was so angry. Angry is not even the word. That's just putting it lightly. I wanted revenge. I wanted straight the frick up revenge for what they did to my daughter and the hell they put me through. And when I was asked, Raven, what is more important to you? Taking the school system down, which you can do, you got all the proof, or getting Skylar everything she needs and letting it go. And I didn't like that question at first. I actually hated that question at first. But I opted for number 2. Because revenge gets you nowhere. Talking shit about people gets you nowhere. Writing nasty stuff about people gets you nowhere. Because in all honesty, they can get it removed. Or they don't care. But bottom line, was taking them down going to benefit my daughter or me in any way? No. But was getting them to admit, not admit verbally, because that never happened. If that ever happens, please come to me and tell me. I just want to eat that one up for just 3 seconds. They will never say, okay, we screwed up, and then make right of it. But they will make right of it, but never say they screwed up. So I knew, because I wanted them to admit it. I wanted them to own it. In my mind, I was like, you need to own it, and then we move on. I wanted them to own it. Just like many of you, I've talked to you. But who gives a shit? All right, if you get what you need for your child, if you get what's needed and appropriate, all right, if they're provided what they need, let it all go. But you got to fight for what they need and advocate your ever loving what's off and know what you're doing. All right. If not, you're kind of spinning wheels. And, I was listening to something yesterday about advocates and, learning and referring and all these things. And I was just like, dear God, this is going to be a mess. I mean, I can just see it coming. It's like, when you can see a train wreck coming, going by someone else's rules and policies, you can only make this much a month or per person. And, we'll refer you, but you have to pay $250 for us to refer you. And, then you have to abide by our rules. And then you have to, come to these trainings once a month. And I'm just like, dear God, I'm going to keep my mouth shut, but I can tell you it's a train wreck waiting to happen. If I'm wrong, good. But I mean, maybe I just got a different style, when I teach you guys how to become advocates, I'm going to teach you what to do in that IEP meeting, and you're going to go fly and do your thing. I'll teach you the business part. That's going to be part of it. If you want to be an advocate for other children and not just your own, or if you're a teacher or a para that, have come to me and said, train me, please. I'll teach you the business end, but do I want you going, by my policies, procedures, and whatever? No. Who am I to say that? That's crazy. What policies and procedures? I don't got any in an IEP meeting. Whatever happens, happens. If they don't like what I have to say, oh, well, just like if they don't like what a parent has to say, oh, well, what policy? There's no policy in an IEP meeting. Yeah, that one just blew me. I'm still in shock with that one. Like, I don't know. And then there's some committee that votes if you're an advocate with them. Not that I need that. I've got my own business. But, I mean, this is for newer advocates. And, like, then you got to be voted on. And, and the worst part is I really respect this advocate. And I just can't believe, like, what is she thinking? But anyway, no. If you guys want to have your own business and being an advocate, I'm going to teach you how to have your own business. Don't have any parts of mine. I ain't going to give you no policies and procedures to follow. You got to make up your own or whatever. I mean, in an IEP meeting, what policies and procedures you need? None. Zero. You do what you got to do in that meeting. Period. They may not like your demeanor. They may not like the way you're coming at them. They may not like the fact that, hey, if you're going to argue with me and keep saying no, then I'm going to fight this. You may not like it. Oh, well. I'm not in this for you to like me. I'm not in this for you to feel that I'm being, honorable to you. I'm in this to be honorable to the child. I'm not in this about you, the teachers, the IEP team. I'm not there to be rude and disrespectful to them, but if that happens, it happens. And typically it goes both ways anyway. So the issue is what it is. We got to call it for what it is. You don't think it's rude when they don't listen to you, that they ignore you, whatever, what you have to say means nothing. You don't think that's rude? I mean, it's kind of like, oh, you're going to say something to me for coming at you for not having the child make progress because whatever you're doing ain't working, and you didn't change it up because you felt like whatever you were doing was great, or you got lazy, or whatever the case may be. I don't know. But that's rude to come at you and question why the child's not making progress and keep asking questions as to why you didn't change it up, why you didn't fix it. But it's okay for that to be reversed, right? For you all not to listen to me, for you all not to treat the parent as an equal team member. Not me. I'm talking about as parents. It's okay for you to have ignored the parent all this time. It's not rude that you basically put the parent in a position where they had to hire an advocate or an attorney because you didn't listen to them. You didn't provide their child FAPE. You didn't do the things that you were supposed to do. That's not rude and disrespectful. Dude, things go both ways. You provide respect, you get respect. You don't give respect, you don't get respect. That's life. Don't come at parents saying that they're rude and disrespectful and not talking to so-and-so right or so-and-so else right. When you're not listening to them, you're not treating them as equal team members. You're not treating them respect. You're not showing that their child's making progress. Come on now. Let's just, come on, people. Call it as it is. Keep it real. Stop with the bullshit. I'm going to call the bullshit. I'm going to be the bullshit advocate, okay? I am going to call every single bit of bullshit. All right? And until it stops. Because collaboration can't happen with bullshit. Collaboration happens when people are transparent with one another as to what happened. And if you screwed up, say you screwed up. I am totally fine with the fact that you screwed up, because guess what? We all do. But I just want you to fix it. That is all I'm asking, is for you to fix it. Not for you to be perfect, not for you to do everything right, because none of us do that. But what I'm asking for is, if you screw up, if the child's not making progress and you didn't change it on your own or make other recommendations or request an IEP meeting to make amendments, and you're called out on it, admit you were wrong and say, but let's change it. I'm sorry. Because you know what? I'm sorry goes a long freaking way. And that's all a parent is looking for sometimes. I'm talking to all the school districts out there. All a parent is looking for sometimes is, I'm sorry. Because we all know you all do make mistakes, just like we do as parents. So to admit when we're wrong and to own it for 2 seconds and then just change it. Change it. That's all we can do in order to grow, is to change what it is that we're doing wrong. Because in the end, no one cares about what you did. In the end. Because if you made the change, you're not going to be faulted where you screwed up. No one can fault someone that says, I screwed up, or, I should have, you're right. I've had a teacher do this. She said, because I brought her through this process, we had a lot of hiccups, and this was a special education teacher. I'm sorry, I'm going to end this. I promise. And she said, Raven, and she laughed. She was like, this has been a learning experience for me. I have learned a lot. She didn't say from you, but I knew what she was saying. I have learned a lot. And, I am appreciative of that. And it has made me change things and do things differently. Do you know, my whole outlook changed on this woman, and I did not like her. She was someone that I told the parent, I was like, I would not want her being my special education teacher for my child. Hell no. Like, no. But once she realized that I was not her enemy, I was just someone there to support the parent, advocate for the student, ensure the child was getting everything that they needed. And that it wasn't about her, and that it wasn't me being out for her. But where she got defensive was many things that she did was not in alignment with the state and federal law. And I called her out every single time. But when she finally said, I apologize for the things I did wrong, and that she's learned a lot, et cetera, changed the rest of the IEPs. It did a complete 180. And so to all the school districts out there, all a parent is looking for sometimes is just an I'm sorry. And changing what you're doing. And hearing them. That's all for today. A whole hour and 50 minutes. I could go on, but I think that's enough. Just listen to it in 15-minute increments, guys. And I know many of you have told me, I've cleaned my whole house while you're doing a live. But no, seriously, have a great afternoon. Have a great evening. I have 3 spots open for one-to-one IEP packages. I had 4, now I have 3. I'm pacing myself like I did last year. So I do have 3 spots available. You're welcome to reach me through WhatsApp. I will post that once I get off here, and have a wonderful evening. Okay. So take care, take a deep breath. If you're going through anything that's stressful, or you see or some things coming that are just not going to be right, go with your gut. Have a good evening.